Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Saturday, September 3rd. I really had no plans on doing a Facebook Live slash podcast about my music collection tonight because I was supposed to be at the Ben and Ben send-off concert at CCP grounds, but as we all know, it has been postponed because of the poor weather. Sayang, no? Well, at least matutuloy pa rin, di ba? Pero sayang kasi iba na yung occasion siguro nun, hindi na siya send-off. Baka homecoming. Anyways, hope everyone's fine. Tonight, I want to share my small collection of Filipino ska, reggae, and dub on compact disc. Let me be very clear, on compact disc, not vinyl. The vinyl stuff featuring Filipino ska, reggae, and dub will be for another episode, okay? So there. Now, obviously, I do have to mention that I could be wrong here, but I think that the first Filipino recording of any reggae music was Lolita and the Boys Usok. Okay, and I recall Howling Dave and the other DZRJ jocks mentioning that when they would play Lolita and the Boys Usok. That's Lolita Carbon, Post Asin. And they recorded a reggae song. And I recall as soon as it came out, I went out to Musicland to buy a copy of that 7-inch single. And I still have it to this day. So that's a prized possession, Lolita Carbon and Lolita and the Boys. And of course, you had Coco Jam, sila, sila Jun Lupito and some other people. No? And well, Coco Jam, I'll be honest, I have no idea if they ever released anything. I wouldn't know. All I know is that I did see them perform. There was this bar in Alimol. They performed there, and I remember seeing them there. So, ayun, no? But we know that Betrayed, even their 1986 cassette album, Then and Now, they had reggae songs like Roots Reggae, among others. Diba? So yun. But we're going to start with this one, diba? Back in the 90s. And you really have to start with this one. Putriska, their debut album. I have a story about this band. Their manager at the time was Je Bautista. Je Bautista played bass for Betrayed. And before Betrayed, he was with Absolute Zero, with Dominic Gamboa and Johnny and Manny Salvador, the Salvador brothers. Puro batchmates in Ateneo also, di ba? And then when Dominic left Absolute Zero, he went to play with Betrayed. So Je came on board later on for another iteration of Betrayed. And after college, when I bumped into Jet, he gave me a call. Of course, he had my landline. He gave me a call and said that he was managing this band. He found out I was with Universal. He said, hey, I have this band. They're called Putriska. They're based in Malabon. You might want to watch them and see if you can sign them. And I said, Malabon's a little bit too far for me. Let me know if they're performing somewhere closer. And I didn't go, not right away. And then I think it took another call for me to show up. He was insistent. And boy, oh boy, am I glad I did go to that show. I don't even recall where it was. And that's how I met Mayra Ruaro. That's right. Then I met, I met others like Slabing Austria and all that, si Arnold, of course, then Arnold Morales. And I was surprised because I didn't know that he was not with Urban Bandits anymore, but that he had reinvented himself into this two-tone guy. And it was great. Watching them was great. And I wanted to get them, except that the bosses at Universal Records weren't receptive to them. They thought the term that they used was Mexican music. Can you believe that? Mexican music. It's not going to sell down. And I had to relay that to Jen. That was really unfortunate. I really felt bad. It was very tough because if you know, Universal's a company that made its name doing pop with Gary Valenciano, Apo Hiking, di ba? Jose Marichan, di ba? Gino Padilla, di ba? So, ano pa, di ba? But the 1990s was, you were seeing a lot of these alternative rock bands come to the forefront, and they were becoming, really big. And all of a sudden, there was this mandate to get bands. So I tried to get Putriska, but I couldn't get them. But that would not be the end of my association with Putriska. There's more on that later. So anyway, this came out. And this is a magnificent debut album. Grabe to. Incredible. Wala kang tapon dito din sa album na to. And sa simula pa lang, yung bang tumba ka na instrumental, grabe. It sets up the entire album. And then it comes in Birthday Holidays, Sirang Romantico, then West Lou, the Hyper West Lou, di ba? Galing, di ba? Pero nagulat ako, parang medyo out of place yung Birthday Holiday na acoustic version. In the middle of the album, I would have put that at... But then again, they ended with Jolly Dominique, which is probably the best way to end the album also. But medyo naging odd man out yung Birthday Holiday acoustic version. Sige na. But it does set up Manila Girl, di ba? They revived the Urban Bandits classic Manila Girl, di ba? But this is a great album. And then, as we all know, they became a hit. So this is the second part of that story with Putriska. And I recall at the time, they were not happy with their label, Octorts, which put them out. No? Ayan. Kita mo yung Octorts dito. Ayan yan. Diba? They weren't happy. They were having trouble. I think they felt that they were not being promoted well. And the band members said, hey, maybe you can get us out of our contract. We'll go with you. But, nakakatawa nun. Kasi all of a sudden, now my label, wanted to get Putriska. See what you can do to get Putriska. Pero pangit naman yung nanunulot ka ng banda, di ba? Lalo na tatay ko, presidente ng pari, di ba? Parang, ang pangit naman nanunulot yung mga bands ng ibang label. No? It's just really hard, but I really wanted to get them, but I couldn't. And, well, that's not the end of my story with Putriska. No? It's one of my favorite bands, local bands. And then they came out with Manila's Finest. Everyone was saying that, they might suffer from the sophomore jinx, but no, this is a very good album as well. Diba? It might not be brimming with the energy of the debut, but it's nonetheless a very good album. And I like it. I enjoy it. No? But this is not the kind of album, well, it took me a while to digest this and okay, but not as swift as this one. From the get-go, unang bagsak pa lang ng bang tumba ka, sold na ako eh. Ito rin naman, no? But, you just, it was a slow digestion of this one. But nevertheless, it's a very good album, Manila's Finest. Ayan, so to continue my Putriska story, years later, decades later, in fact, there was this reported reunion of the band, and I had touched base with si Arnold Morales. Before that reunion, I had got reacquainted with Arnold, and I had written about the Urban Bandits. I saw them, I missed out on the reunion at B-side, but I did get to see them play in the performance after the one in B-side. So having been reacquainted with Arnold and then writing about Arnold, he was the one who let me in on the planned reunion, and then they were asking for help. No? So the band reached out, sila Emily, sila Myra, and then they were saying that, maybe you can help us. So I was helping out with their publicity. We even did a press con at Jerry's Grill outside ABS-CBN. And it was great. it was great just being there behind the scenes, seeing the practices. I went to two of their practices. And then, I was there backstage with them at the Music Museum with their opening act, Japan's Beat Band Off. And that was incredible. It was like reliving those Club Red days, just watching Putriska. I'll tell you something about Putriska when they were at the height of their popularity. They were appearing in noontime shows. But let me tell you this. They were outside the Eraserheads. They were the one band that packed Club Red. I could be wrong, but it was always, always packed. Now, here's the thing. The entrance to Dread was $100. But, and I remember, as I said, the album was a slow burn in terms of selling. I think within 2 months, 3 months after its release, naka 9,000 pa lang sila sa sales. Hindi siya bubulusok agad. Parang when you think about it, laging puno yung shows nila. But marami kasi nakakapasok kasi kaibigan ni ganitong membro ng banda. So, if they can't even pay the $100 to get inside Red, they can't even pay to buy the cassette, which also costs $100. Diba? So, medyo naging dilemma yon, diba? Pero laging puno yan. Laging puno. They were a band outside tropical depression that could get the crowd really dancing, and it was just absolutely amazing. And iba yung pulso ng ska sa reggae. It's a lot faster. And I think the crowds at Dread absolutely loved that. So it was great. I just love going to those shows. I feel I was witness to something incredible. I befriended even sila Scataba, Shane Cosgrove, and all these other guys who were associated with Putriska. It was great, absolutely great. So I'm lucky that I have and I kept these two CDs, no? So yan. Oh, lipat naman tayo sa ibang collection ko ng Filipino ska, reggae, and dub. No? It's not going to be in alphabetical order, okay? But I needed to start with Putriska. Okay? So, well, just some sort of segue, then let's go to the Brown Beat All-Stars where Myra transferred. Yeah. So this came out under Viva Records, and Myra had left to join the Brown Beat All-Stars. And she gave me a call. She said, "Hoy, Patrick," she's one of the few people outside my Ateneo classmates who call me Patrick, because Patrick is my full name, Patrick Raymond. And she knew that. She knew that even back in the day. She knew that even from Je Bautista, di ba? So she would call me Patrick. So yeah, Patrick, ko itaw siya sa landline, di ba? Ano naman yung banda ko? Yung Brown Beat All Stars, di ba? So I remember when they debuted, and like, wow, galing, di ba? Saya din, di ba? So maganda rin yung album, maganda. Pero nakakamiss din kasi yung iba yung vibe ng, I think Arnold Morales is a terrific songwriter. An underrated one at that, di ba? You listen to stuff with the Urban Bandits. And how many bands were socially conscious back then? Outside Asin? Sino ba? Asin lang yata maalala ko at Top of Mind, di ba? And then it took the punk bands to really say something from the trade. But Urban Bandits was at the forefront of social commentary. And Arnold's just a terrific songwriter. And that's why I keep bugging him to write new songs, and with the hopes that I can help put it out and bind. But this is a great debut with songs like Lampungan, di ba? Grabe, galing. Now, towards the middle 1990s, I had left the music scene because there were after the success of Datu's Tribe and Parokya, which were doing very, very well. I thought that I could just get whatever band that I wanted, and the bands that I jotted down that I wanted to get, because I couldn't get Tropical Depression anymore. They were with Viva. I could not get Color It Red. They were with Alpha. So the ones I listed down were, I couldn't get Putriska because they were with Upwards. So I wanted to get Sonnet 58, Fatal Phosphorus, Indio Eye, and then Sugar Hiccup. Sugar Hiccup was a hard band to crack because Melody's mom was working, Melody Del Mundo's mom was working for BMG. So that's parang lucky. And I remember, sinusuhulan ko yun na, where Universal Records is carrying 4AD. We're licensed here 4AD. We could put you in a compilation, then I think I remember Zandro Pollack being very excited about that, but wala, BMG. So Fatal Phosphorus, and I thought that they were, I loved them from the get-go when I saw them, and I really wanted them. They wrote really great songs too, with a lot of pop hooks. And the band just was oozing with a lot of charm and personality. And I loved Fatal Phosphorus. And sayang nga, for years, I still kept their cassette demo, and I lost that during Ondoy. But anyway, when I was trying to get Fatal Phosphorus, we agreed to sign them, but in the day of the signing, Universal backed out. And that was very, very embarrassing. So while technically it's not my fault, I still felt very embarrassed. No? And I felt it was a slap down for me. And I was fuming and I was angry. Yeah, parang, I had given you two bands that were, awesome sellers. And the minimum that they sold was 20,000 copies of their album. That's Dapi's Tribe. They went gold with their first album. And Parokya sold more than that. They sold 40,000 copies of their first album. Diba? So, yung Kangkong Kernits, diba? So, dapat pinagbigyan ako with Fatal, hindi nangyari yun. So, since I was out of the scene and I was moving abroad, one time I was in Cubao Expo or Cubao X. So it wasn't called Cubao X then. And I saw there was this shop that sold CDs by bands, and they had this. Abangan nyo to kasi ilalabas ko to ng basta. Yeah. So they had this and I got it. And I was, wala pang internet noon eh. Meron na ba? Hindi ko alam. Hindi ko na matandaan. Basta, parang wow. Meron pala nito. Diba? So I got this right away. There were a bunch of CDs over there by these bands that I didn't know because I had left the scene. But this one I said, Beat All Stars. I gotta get this. Diba? Ayan. And another band that I liked then, but I wanted to get, but paalis na ako nun, was Brown Man Revival. For one, mga kapwa Atenista. They were coming out of Ateneo with a name, and they were counterpoint to Tropical Depression. And this was their debut EP, coming soon. This is the one and only album with the almost original lineup, the Ateneo band. Because after that, naiwan na lang yung Concepcion Brothers. All the others went to form on the Milagros Dancehall Collective. Watching them in Dread, watching them in 70s Bistro was amazing. And I like Indio Eye, mga tenista rin. But there was something about the original lineup of Brown Man Revival. Against Sapi Suplanas, Toasting, galing, no? Sila Robert Martinez, sila Vince Chacon, di ba? Grabe yung lineup na yun. Solid, tight band, di ba? And this is the one and only EP of that lineup. And I love this, no? Under the Reggae Moon, Fantasy, Ngayong Gabi, Goodbye Babe, but galing, no? And then I think after that, they went a little more pop. So ito na yun. Steady lang, the second one. With a different lineup, say for the Concepcion Brothers. And, critics will decry the pop sensibility of Brown Man Revival. But, there's, I don't know, I enjoy it. I enjoy it then. Diba? May mga reggae bands na ganun with a pop sensibility, but that's okay. That's them. That's them. And I loved it. I love this album. And then the one that came after that, Ayos Din. What's with the two-word titles? Diba? I remember they were looking for a title for one of their later EPs, and then I submitted something that I thought was really cool, but they went with a shitty name. I'm sorry, guys, but the names of the albums are just wala lang talaga, di ba? Wala lang. But fortunately, maganda yung music. Yeah. Ayos din. Ito pa. Jesus. What a name. Ito pa. Lalo na to, new arrival. Walang kadating-dating. But again, ang saving grace mo dyan, maganda yung music. You know? Yeah. So they're one of my favorite bands, and I had not seen that band since the start of the pandemic. So hopefully I'll be able to uy, si Ryan Vilcanas, sabi niya, founding member ako ng Brown Man. Hindi ko alam yon, Brad. Hindi ko alam yon. So, nandun ka ba nung liniligawan ko yung banda? Di ba? Good to know. Idol natin yung si Ryan Vilcanas. Nakita ko yan as a 15-year-old drummer for Tungaw. Sabay siya nung special audition ng Fatal Phosphorus for Universal Records. We had them perform for me and the late Belyatan at 6 p.m. Diba? So wala pang tao sa Dread. Mga tao sa Dread nagdadatingan ng 8 diba? Ayan. So Ryan Vilcanas, impress ako. Mahusay talagang bata. Child prodigy. Keyboards daw, sabi ni Ryan. Diba? And, you know, this is another band that I like, Coffee Break Island. And hopefully I'll be working with them soon, very soon. Alam mo, henyo to si Paul Putian. This guy is a freaking underrated genius, Paul Putian. I love the way he sings. He's got that gruffness, but he's got a lot of blue-eyed soul in him. Diba? So whether he's playing ska, reggae, or something with a little bit of rockabilly or even soul, husay. Henyo talaga, diba? And hopefully, being Austrian, nag-usap tayo sa gagawin natin, diba? Yan, but okay. I think they have another album, but I don't have it. This is the one that I have. But I love Coffee Break Island. Galing nila. You know? Yan. Coolie Dread and the Microphone Commanders. Yan. Yan yung may pangalan, di ba? Di ba? Okay. Hemp Republic. Galing nito. Di ba? Lalo na yung Fireflies. I love the video. I love the music video of that one. When I heard this later on, galing nito. I got to see them a couple of times, and you know they're just really fun to watch. They know how to put on the show. Welcome to Hemp Republic. Yeah. Okay, this is a band from Olongapo. Diba? Sinagsaming patay yung eksena doon. Herb Culture. Their debut EP. Yan, mga taga-Gapo. I think there was a support local reggae night at 70s Misra, and they were performing, and I was wow, di ba? Yung vocalist nila may pagka-husky yung boses, di ba? Sa kahanip to, di ba? So I introduced myself after, see what I could do, then I wrote an article about them, di ba? Galing nito. Sana may follow-up yan. Oh, sabi ko earlier, one of the bands that I wanted to get was Indio Eye. I still have the demo tape that Vic Facultad gave to me all those years. And it had little S on my chest and Earth to Man plus a song, Mikey. Mikey was ska, not reggae. It was ska. And when I heard Mikey, it had hit single written all over it. And for some reason, well, obviously it's ska, but this one is like a little bit roots reggae or something like that. Malalim na reggae. Di ba? So hindi nila sinama dito kasi medyo out, hindi siya fit din sa rest of the album. Now I wanted to get this band, but here's the funny thing. I thought I had their commitment, but I think Vic went to the States or something, and while he was in the States, the band signed with Sony. And when Vic returned, he was surprised that the band had signed with Sony. And but I guess ganun na rin talaga kasi I think at the time I was leaving already the recording company. I was leaving. So even if they were gonna go to me, baka hindi rin nila sign ng Universal. But ito lang kwento ha. Yung plan ko for Fatal Phosphorus was to put them out on CD singles, 3-song EPs, and sell it for $50, and then put out three EPs or 4 EPs, and then gather everything and then into their version of Hat Full of Hollow. That was my plan. Ganito yan eh. Kasi ang CD noon was 375 pesos. And not many people are buying CDs. Very few because it was expensive. Ang cassette noon, 100 pesos. Ang plaka noon, naging 125. Imagine, when I started buying records, they were $24, 24, 25 pesos. A double album was 45 or 48. And that was 1979, 1980, 81. By 1992, tumalon siya. Naging 50 pesos yung plaka, then naging 100, naging 125. Pero nung yung cassette 100, 125 yung plaka. Diba? Ang CD 375. And not many people are gonna buy CDs. And slowly we were transitioning, the whole industry, the worldwide industry was transitioning to compact discs. And I said, look, we need to introduce it. And it's cheap. It's cheap. Diba? Even if we sell it at $50, kikita pa kami ng what, 30 pesos or something like that. Ayaw nila, maliit yung kita. So I guess because of that, hindi rin na sinay yung Fatal. Okay, Jeepney Joyride. Yeah. Ganda to. Now, there's this, I'm gonna jump. This album, Dominic Gambo was my neighbor in Cubao. When he moved out of the family home in Provident Village, he moved to Cubao. So we were 8th Avenue. I lived in number 67 8th Avenue. And he was like a minute's walk away from my place along 8th Avenue, going down. So kung number 67 ako, siguro mga nasa 48, number 48 siya, lapit lang. So I kept badgering. I was always at this place. Kailangan maglalabas ng bagong album, di ba? After Tropical Depression's Kapayapaan, they put out another album na puro covers and I didn't really enjoy it. So eventually they did put, I remember he was saying that they had the CDs and all that, but I never saw it. Sa NU 107 magkasud kami, Dread at the controls siya ng 7 to 8. And then 8 to 9, kami naman sa Halikilu Radio, yung Ateneo sports talk show namin. We were following Doming. So that's how I got reacquainted with Doming again after coming back from the States. And I kept pestering him. And eventually, nabas itong Island Rhythms. Under Galaxy Records, mga ex-Universal. And man, this one contains an awesome version of Ang Himig Natin, di ba? And featuring Pepe Smith, di ba? Kasama si Pepe Smith, tsaka Junior Kilat, di ba? Junior Kilat nandito sa album nito, dun sa song na yun. And that version of Himig Natin is just really incredible. This album introduced me to Junior Kilat. And on that note, we'll talk about Island Rhythms again later. Eto, party people, you're on Dub TV, di ba? Hanip. Di ba? Doming was telling me, you gotta listen to Junior Kilat. They sing their songs. It's reggae and dub. They sing it in Bisaya. And I was like, dude, how am I supposed to understand them? I said, no, you just listen to the music, Sabi niya, well, you listen to Sigur Rós. Do you understand what they're saying? I said, no. Well, my point taken. Diba? Ayan. So, galing nito. Galing ng Junior Kilap. Grabe. This is an amazing band. This is a band I will pay to watch. It's just really awesome. And yung original Sigbid, di ba? Hanep talaga. These guys have a sense of humor too. Di ba? Ito yung next nila. Diba? Budoy ako. The Visayan version of Pinoy ako. Sabi sa'yo, may sense of humor tong band lang to. Di ba? Galing. And their third album. Ayan. Enrique de Malaca. Galing talaga. Alam mo, hindi ako nagsasawa makinig ng Junior Killa. Yeah. Galing. Pusa yan. Okay, this one mixes hip-hop and reggae. Cartel. And Lion and the Scouts. Pagsibol. Galing nito. It's an EP or a mini album. I think I bought this also in Cubao X. Sa Cubao X ko nabili ito. Diba? And marami kang mabibili maganda doon. And I enjoy buying them. But sadly, nung pandemic, marami nagsara ng mga stores doon. Diba? So, si Brutus. One of my old friends sa eksena, si Brutus. Nakilala ko yan sa Tropical Depression dahil kay Doming, di ba? Napanood ko pa yan. I think sila Bing Austria pa yung nag-keyboard sa kanila nun. Si Brutus and all that. And mabuhay ka, kaibigan. Mabuhay ka, Kap. Ito, Milagros Dancehall Collective. It's a bloody shame. I wouldn't. This band has more talent than many other bands. No? But how many know Milagros Dancehall Collective? I got to watch them at 70s Misra only once. And I bought this from Sapi. I bought it at night. I think from Robert Martinez. I bought it at night that evening. It's a real good one. And I don't know if there's any follow-up stuff to this one. I should ask. I don't know if Ryan Villena knows kung may follow-up. Ryan, meron ba? Meron ba, Ryan? Brutus, may follow-up ba to? Hindi ko alam kung may follow-up to eh. Di ba? Ayan, but galing nito. Galing. Tsaka hanap yung boses ni Sapi pag nagtutoast. Lupit, di ba? Kaibigan ko si Bong Termulo. And Neighbors. Yan. Ito lang sasabihin ko. I intend to put these guys out on vinyl soon. Sinasabi ko na sa inyo. Usap na kami ni Bong. I intend to put them out on vinyl. Ang husay nitong Neighbors. Sobra. Di ba? Studio One. Di ba? Galing. Yeah. And these boys got a lot of talent. I'm going to Ska represent, definitely. Definitely. Okay, Ska Punk, Theo Mons. Nabili ko to sa Cubao X10. I think for 400 pesos yata. Galing. Sarap mag-discover ng mga banda. Tsaka, ako kasi parang, if you're gonna ask me what are my favorite subgenres of rock and roll, I will say that I love punk rock. I've loved punk rock since the moment I heard the Ramones, and then I heard the Clash after that. Diba? So I've been a fan of punk rock since I was like 9 years old. Diba? My love for punk has never gone away. Never. I love it to this day. If you're gonna look at my collection, sa taas yan, puro punk yan. Lahat yan. No? Puro punk lahat yan. hardcore and classic punk rock and all that stuff. But the other ones that I really enjoy are shoegaze. I love shoegaze. I also love Jamaican music. No, hold on. Reggae, ska, dub, rocksteady. Absolutely love it. I mean, I love metal. I love a lot. But yung tatlo, di ba? Reggae, ska. Pagsama na, reggae, ska, dub. Punk rock at shoegaze, yun yung paborito ko talaga. You can throw in rockabilly too. I love rockabilly music to this day. But I listen to everything. There are days when it's just death metal. There's days that it's extreme metal. There are days when it's alternative rock. There are days when it's just new wave. Iba-iba. But I love ska, reggae, and dub. Yeah. Sige. Lipat na tayo dun sa ska punk band. Pink Cow. No Boundaries. May plaka din ako nito. Nung binili ko to, pinuntahan ko yung isang miyembro nagtatrabaho sa PTV4. Nung ako binili sa kanya, binili ko rin yung plaka. I think I got 2 copies of this and 2 records. Yeah, one for my son. Ska punk. Diba? In the vein of yan, yung mga I can't say boss tones, di ba? Parang gano'n, di ba? Yan. Reggae Mistress. I was only able to get this later on, not when it first came out. I got this later on. I think one of the members is the manager, nakatira dito sa Marikina. Pinuntahan ko pa para bilhin yan. Okay, Scavenger. Grabe, galing din ng bandang. You know, their version of Part of Me, which came out in Island Rhythms, is so much better than the one that came out here. The version of Part of Me in Island Rhythms is absolutely okay. You guys gotta listen to that one. It's just really, really good. It's an outstanding band, and naalala ko noon, no, if you go, kung ikaw bumabiyahe ng Shaw Boulevard, malapit sa entrance ng Kapitolyo sa Shaw, there is this building with this huge banner of Scavenger. So whether someone from the band was working there or the management, I have no idea. But it was a thrill to see that huge poster of Scavenger along Shaw Boulevard right before you enter Kapitolyo. They're a good band. I do hope that they put out a new one. You know, it would be a bloody shame if you don't hear from Scavenger. Mabuhay sila. Spy. I got to see Spy 70s Bistro. First time I saw Spy. Slabama Reggae Blast. Hanip to from Tiger Records, diba? You know, there's this mystique about Spy, siguro because they had foreign members and they were formed in France, not in Manila, but in France, diba? So Dr. Sticks, man. Dr. Sticks. Galing, diba? This is just a really awesome band. They brought a sense of, alam mo yung matinik yung band eh. Matinik, yan, mahusay sila. Technically proficient and all that. And, when I first heard them, the first thought that popped into my mind was, oh, they're like the Police, fusing a lot of stuff, third world rhythms, and all that into their form of reggae. And there were times that there was a little bit of pop in it. I wasn't a fan of the pop stuff. I really liked reggae a lot. I didn't mind when they were fusing it with other stuff, with jazz and all that. But it's the reggae version of Spy that I really love. So this is a really good one. Slabama Reggae Blast that came out in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. 96. Ano ba nakalagay dito? 96 nga. Kasi tama yung pagkaalala ko. Yeah. The Best of Spy. Alam mo, yung pag nakita mo yung Tiger Records, grabe, di ba? Tiger Records. Di ba? Parang reggae yung pangalan. Something about it. Ayan. Yeah. Pleno kaibigan. Yeah. Pero sayang, wala na. I think if they're still around, it's in a different iteration. Wala na yung mga foreign members sila. Ayun, sabi nga ni Brutus, parang the police. Yes, parang the police. Yun yung unang dating sa akin nung una ko mapanood yung Spy. And si 70s Beast pa lang. I think they were the headline act that evening. Yun yung word of mouth. So when I watched them, word of mouth lang. You say, you gotta watch Spy. Or Rick, you, you like reggae, you like that stuff, diba? You like Jamaican music, you gotta watch Spy. I mean, if they were saying if you like Coco Jam, you're gonna love them. So, gotta see them. Sunflower Day Camp. Ito lang yata yung album niya, hindi na sila naglabas. And this magnificent album, in my honest opinion, this has got to be top 5 or top 10 from all the albums that came out in the 1990s in the Philippines. This is just pure genius. Pure genius. Look at that. Si Teng nag-design. Sa pangalan na lang, panalo na, Tropical Depression. And the songs by Domeng and Bong Udella, si Lennon, di ba? Husay talaga. Galing yung bandang to. Grabe. They were, since I lived near Club Dread, very near, walking distance. Si Domeng, hindi mo mapapalakan si Domeng, minsanan lang. Kasi syempre may mga bit-bit siya. Ako maglalakad lang ako, di ba? Kasi although nagtatrabaho na ako, I enjoy walking. I really do. Whenever they were playing Dread, I made it a point to watch. And when they launched Kapayapaan, their first show in Dread, I will not forget that. And I've talked about it again time and again, where maaga sila nasalang, 9 o'clock. Maaga. And then, konti pala yung tao sa loob. And, you know, they were doing Do the Reggae. And the crowd, the small crowd at Dread was just sitting down. If you went to the old club then, pag pasok mo sa entrance, yun yung may mga table sa loob, yung mga kainan, tapos yung CR na super kakadiri, di ba, nandun sa gilid doon. And then if you went left, nandun na yung performance area. Di ba, may mga tables and chairs din. Then may, doon sa likod, near the sound booth, near the technical booth, may parang yung kahoy na nakadikit sa wall, so patong mo ng drinks and all that. Then there were a few chairs, sometimes you just stood up. And I remember I stood next to Roman, the tech ng Dread who was with Sonnet 58. And then all of they were doing Do the Reggae. And the crowd was just there. No one was nodding their head. Probably me. Probably me. But everyone was just sitting down. And then these two long-haired guys got up and started dancing. The way, you know, I can still see it like it was yesterday. They both wore long hair. And then two guys, they were dancing in unison, like para sa dance partner. And they swing. You know. Then their feet were going, kicking up high and all that. Grabe, it was infectious. And I think they were feeding off Doming's energy. And then when these two long-haired dudes started dancing, within minutes everyone rushed to the front and started dancing, slamming and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's one of the most incredible things that, well, at least from my memory back in the 90s in Dread, that was really something. And
The band never let up on their energy that evening. Tuloy-tuloy lang siya. And I remember Aaron feeling exhausted after that 45-minute set, diba? Just absolutely amazing. And unfortunately, my second album of Tropical Depression, I lost it to Ondoy. Diba? So I've been trying to track it down. It's so darn hard to find. I don't think it's sold well as this one. Malayo, cannot even compare. So I have no idea how many copies they put out of the second album, but I have not seen anyone sell it. I've been looking all over for it. Yeah. So, babalik na tayo sa Island Rhythms. Konti na lang yung collection ko eh. Diba? Hindi ko sinama yung plaka, puro CD lang ito. Galing, di ba? Hanip sa cover. Diba? Alam mo, si Tengto lang naman gumawa nito. Ayan, so, yeah, Enchi doing a version of Chinelas Bayan. Junior Kilat nandito, di ba? Ayan, Scavenger doing Part of Me. Really awesome version. Bamboo Split is here, di ba? Gaucho, Peace Pipe, di ba? Island Joe. Galing. And I kept asking Dominic for new tropical depression music, and he, I was a little disappointed he did a version of Himig na ang Himig natin. But then when I heard it, as I said, it's such an amazing, amazing version. It's a song that I play time and again, yeah, because it features hi Dan, shout out ka pa dyan, nakakainis ka, di ba? Nakakainis ng mga tao. Oy, June Dizon, dating player ng Uste. Idol natin yan, si June Dizon. Kumusta ka kaibigan, di ba? Okay. Diba? So we're here talking about my CD collection of Filipino ska, reggae, and dub music. CD ha, so hindi wala pa yung mga plaka. Ibang episode pa yun. Diba? Yan. Meron akong dalawang kopya ng Island Rhythms. Diba? I saw one for sale nung first record sale after when the alert levels were lifted so people could go out already. It was at the Kagatan in Green Hills. And I saw a second copy of this. I picked it up. Even if I had it, I decided to liberate it. You'll never know if I could trade it for something. But I love it. It's something that it's nice to have as an extra copy. And, syempre, yung kasama niyan, yung Island Christmas, di ba? Ayan. Tapos may Yoyoy Villame pa to. Yoyoy Villame. Tapos may Victoria. Pero of course, di ba, Tropical Depression nandito. Junior Kilat, yeah! Scabeche, Bamboo Split, di ba? Ayan. Yoyoy Villame, di ba? Yung sa Tropical Depression, ayaw ko na kay Santa Claus, di ba? Parang, Doming, gawa ka pa. Di ba? Ayan. And then the last one is Doobie Nights. Ayan, Doobie Nights. Kasama yung sa Jam. So, medyo recent lang to. Diba? Sino yung nandito? You had G2 and the Boondocks, Coffee Breaks, Space Flower Show, Indio Eye, Domestic Grass, Shuffle Union. Yan. Shuffle Union. Sana may album ng Shuffle Union. Kinukulit ko yan maglabas. Diba? Kahit ako magbayad ng CD noon para ilabas lang natin. Peace Pipe, Mudflow, Junior Kilat, Inchi, Brown Outfit Bureau, the Chonkies, Cherry Cornflakes, di ba? Ayan. So, meron akong how do you say this? A demo copy from this band, ska punk band from Pampanga, Scampers. I'll probably do that in another episode, yung mga demo lang. Diba? Papakita ko rin yung cassette ko ng Indio Eye. Yung demo na binigay nila sa akin all those years ago. Diba? It's one of the few demos. I think I only saved 2. That one and Violent Playground. Oh, it's Sonnet 58. But Sonnet 58 was on compact disc. The others were on cassette. I lost the Fatal Phosphorus and the artwork outside was done by Donna. Diba? Donna Macalino. And, sayang, and believe it or not, I even had a copy of Pop You. Diba? How I think my copy of Pop You was given to me by Patrick Ryan. Or was it Robinson Nico all those years ago? I'm not sure anymore. But I lost that also to Ondoy. Sayang, diba? That was, and I didn't even, I did not even realize what the value. Kasi hindi ako yung type of guy na, okay, ano yung value nito? Wala akong pakialam talaga sa totoo lang, di ba? Ano sabi ni Brutus, payo ko na kay Santa Claus, original kind of yeah. So, ayun, di ba? Anyway, yun. I have this collection also of stuff that are demos, di ba? And yung CDR lines and the scampers. But, it's still nice to have. It's still nice. It's part of it. Not every band can afford to put out something that is actually pressed by a proper pressing plant, di ba? And I'm still trying to look for stuff like that. Ayun, so naghahanap din ako. I always on the lookout for other bands na mga ska. Ang dami. Meron naman ngayon mga panibagong banda. Diba? So hopefully they'll be able to put out stuff soon. Diba? So, ayan, I think, when you talk about reggae music, diba, it always starts with Bob Marley. Somehow, it always starts with Bob Marley. And a lot of that reggae influence had to come from Dominic. He was, I had listened to Bob Marley, but I wasn't really into Bob Marley, not so much. At the time, it was hard for someone who was into punk and new wave to really like reggae. I think Dominic, and then later on, right, Hearing Betrayed, and of course, in Lolita and the Boys. That was massive. That was absolutely massive. I was talking to Bernie Bagaman, the music critic for Jingle Magazine back in the 80s, all the way to its final issue. And Bernie was known as the guy who did all the OPM reviews. And when we were talking about Asin, I said I wasn't listening to Asin. I disliked them. I wasn't really a fan of folk music. I hated it. In fact, local folk music, I called it NPA music. That's how I termed it, NPA music. Music ng rebelde. But it took Lolita and the Boys, Usok, for me to look back into Lolita Carbon's catalog. Ganun naman yun, di ba? Style Council got me to listen to Al Green, James Brown. Well, I heard James Brown, so my dad played James Brown. It forced me to look into Northern Soul, forced me to look into Al Green and other artists from the 50s and 60s that were the basis for the Northern Soul movement. Diba? So ganun lang yun. So yung from Bob Marley, ayun na, di ba? Alam mo yung Brown Man Revival in its early days used to cover a lot of Big Mountain. Yeah, the Tropical Depression did it, but more of Brown Man. They did a lot of cover songs of Big Mountain, and it was just great to hear, diba? Lalo na yung Likit Up, laging nasa staple ng performance in Tropical Depression yan, tsaka Brown Man Revival. So listening to Brown Man and Tropical perform this stuff also made me look back into reggae. But ska, I already loved ska because of that. You can chalk it up to the release of Dance Craze, the soundtrack from the film Dance Craze. So I was already a fan of ska. I liked dub because of the Clash, diba? Yung Black Market Clash when they did Armageddon Dine, the Rubber Dub, Bank Robber and all that, diba? Hanep, diba? Like, wow, ito pala yung dub. Galing, diba? But reggae was something I didn't get into immediately, but it was a slow burn. Diba? So Doming was one of those factors. Lolita and the Boys was another. Betrayed was another with Roots Reggae, di ba? And ayun, of course, nung namatay si Bob Marley, di ba? So I listen to the Bob Marley stuff. And now, there isn't a month that goes by where I don't play Bob Marley. I do. Diba? And, going to Jamaica years later, nakabili ako ng Jamaican press ng Bob Marley's Legend, diba? Bob Marley Wailers Legend. So I really love reggae music. It's a staple of my what's on my rotation. Staple yan, normal yan, regular yan, diba? And of course, diba? Lately, a trip ko, I've been listening to a lot of Junior Kilat all over again. Been listening to a lot of Spy. And of course, Putriska, which is always a staple. So I love listening to this. I think it's great. And hopefully, I'll be able to put out, diba? Sabi ko nga, hopefully neighbors, makatrabaho ko yung neighbors, diba? So, yeah, yun yung goal ko. Yung Angono Ska Explosion. Lalabas ko yan, diba? Kailangan ng vinyl treatment yan. Hindi pwedeng hindi. Diba? And so, Jan Colina, the star of Adamson, basketball star ng Adamson Falcons, kaibigan ko. Jan, huy, nasa na yung mga binibili ko sa yung longganisa? Kaya nagpakita sa akin po talaga Jan. Pero kay isa yun sa mga kaibigan natin, si Jan Colina. Fan ako niyan. Idol din sa basketball. Alright, so, do you have any questions? Those who are listening about my Filipino ska, reggae, and dub. As I said, plaka pag-uusapan natin sa ibang episode. Di ba? Mahirap pagsama-sama lahat yan. Diba? Mas maganda magkasama pero wala naman tayong sapat na oras para dyan. Tsaka mapapagod din tayo. Di ba? Ayan. So, there. Di ba? I don't have an extensive overall reggae and ska collection. I have a lot of the original British two-tone bands. The first releases by almost all the bands I have it. Dance Craze, I have the US, UK, and Japanese version. The one I'm trying to get is the Philippine version. It's really hard to get. I bought it when it first came out. And I love that record. I loved it. In fact, I bought two of it. My mom threw that stuff out. So, yun. So, it's a, nandun yung sa baba. All my reggae stuff, my ska and dub, they're all there. Yung mga ibang lumilipat na dito kasi puno na. Konti lang naman. It's not too much. I have a lot of obscure acts also. And, obviously, aside from the Wailers, I love Big Mountain. I love Third World. Yeah, I love Burning Spear. Burning Spear is just really awesome. I got to see Burning Spear in New York. Grabe. Ja is my driver. Anip yung kanta na yun. Grabe. I think it went around 8 minutes. It clocked 8 minutes and they're doing it live. I was just like, wow, this is really awesome. So yeah, I have my, and I have my Desmond Decker records and all that stuff. I just absolutely love Jamaican music. Absolutely love it. Well, Brutus, yung collection kasi bata pa ako. Diba? Bata pa ako. Sabi ko nga, nagmulat na mata ko kasi dad ko presidente ng pari. So kung saan-saan niya ako dinadala. Dadali na ako sa Manila Hotel, sa Intercon to watch the New Minstrels, to watch the Family Birth Control Band kay Nonoy Zuniga kasi pinumahan nila si Nonoy Zuniga sa kanyang record company ng Disc Corporation. Diba? So this is before Nonoy lost his right leg to that explosion. Diba? Yung nagplanta nun, kilala ko, katrabaho ko later sa advertising and nakulong siya because of that. Diba? And he's been repentant about it kasi hindi naman si Nonoy Zuniga yung target nun. But anyway, I think it is because of that. No? My point being that exposed me to a lot of music as a kid. And if you're going to ask me the first concert I ever watched, it's Donna Summer. Because Donna Summer was his artist. Then I saw America, their first time in the Philippines. Then that was followed by the Little River Band, also at the Folk Arts Theater, along with America. And then Christopher Cross also was there. I think that He had just won a Grammy for Album of the Year. And that his debut had only 9 songs. So for the encore, he had to perform Ride Like the Wind and Sailing all over again. So, and then, we'd go to Gapo. Nung ko na nakita yung The Frictions. Diba? Sa Share a Club, Frictions. And then, I got to see the Soul Jugglers and Juan de la Cruz. Yun lang inaalala ko. There were others, but I didn't know the names of the band. Kaya ako naalala yung Frictions because of Perwisyo sa Lipunan. And they later started performing in Shakey's. Diba? Shakey's. Oo, dito sa Cubao at sa West Ave. Diba? Staple yan. That's a story for another day. And I'm doing something with the Frictions. Now, that started my collection, diba? And my first records were all Kiss records. Imported pa lahat since my dad got a lot of this imported stuff. Diba? And then, Juan de la Cruz Band, Malaca. Yun yung mauna ko nabili. And then Ocean Zoo, Animal Party. 7 pesos sa Musicland Animal with its paint powder. So yun, maaga pa lang nagsimula na ako mag-collect. And since I love comic books, when you collect comic books, you take good care of it. So there was a collector's mentality that was in me. So since I was a kid, I'd save stuff. In fact, even my notebooks when I was in the Ateneo grade school, I had it up to about 8-10 years ago. Then, because of the fire, nawala siya. I lost my original Kiss Army ID. Dami nawala. Sayang, they were all in a box. In this huge, parang balikbayan box, that was in the topmost cabinet. Yun yung nabasa when the firemen were dousing the house with water. Nasira lahat yun. It was terrible. So I lost a lot of stuff then. But I lost all my compact discs. I had shipped them to the United States. Yung mga OPM ko, yung mga Eraserheads ko. Diba? Pero hindi lahat na ship ko. Diba? Kung ano yung nandito, yun yung mga nasira. Pero nasira din yung Ondoy. So double whammy. Ondoy and Sunog. Pero yung mga nasa US, hindi nasira yun. So I shipped them back over here. So yan. So maaga pa lang nagko-collect ako. Meet ko urgent singer time with control sa HK. Yan, so sino ba? Carl Tan, good evening, Carl Tan. Sino ba yung mga nakikinig? Teka. Tignan natin yung listahan. Di ba? Hindi ko makita kasi yung list ng mga nagla-like. Di ba? Anyway. Ayun, so that's how I started collecting. So it gives me, lalo na sa mga OPM, since I fell in love with Filipino music and Filipino artists, I've been buying a lot of this stuff, a lot of it. And I'm glad I take good care of them. So many of them are near mint. I can't say mint because they're all open. Hindi na mint yun pag open. Near mint na lang yun, di ba? Lalo na maraming taong sama ng grading system, di ba? Mga bopol, masasabilan near mint, pero sobrang gasgas. But I can tell you that mine's really well taken care of. They look in great shape. So yun, I hope you enjoyed my discussing my collection of Filipino ska, reggae, and dub on compact disc. In a future episode, we will talk about my stuff on vinyl. Meron kasi mga hindi naglalabas ng CD na vinyl. Lalo na yan si Red Eye. Puro plaka lahat yan. Tsaka pressed in Japan. And on virgin vinyl. So maganda talaga yun to. No? Yung Pink Cow, yung labas din. Papakita ko rin sa iyo ng Lolita and the Boys, yung usok na sinave ko hanggang ngayon, di ba? Grabe yun. Yan, so well, mas konti lang yun, di ba? Like I said, it's not a lot. But pwede na. And I do hope to put out well, okay. Lalabas ko yung Brown Beat All-Stars sa vinyl. Okay? Then, after that, hahabulin ko yung neighbors. Labas ko yung neighbors. Yan, di ba? Abangan nyo na lang yun. Di ba? So, siguro yun yung pasabog ko ngayong gabi. Di ba? Oo, lalabas ko yung Brown Beat All Stars. Yung 2-week panic. Yun, lalabas siya. Di ba? Ayan, sinabi ko na. We will make the proper announcements soon. But at least now you heard it from me. And then yung neighbors. Okay, neighbors. Gagawin natin yung neighbors. Ayan. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I don't know when I'll have another one kasi tomorrow may meeting ako with a band. May pakulo kasi ako na announce namin very, very soon. Di ba? Ayan. So, tsaka next year may malaki akong project. Di ba? Malaking music project. Ayan. Marami actually. Anyway, maraming salamat for listening. And good night, everybody. You all have a great weekend. Bye. Good night.